Chibunomu wadawa.
Chibunomu
welage. Wadawa.
Chibunomu
welage. Oh my goodness, it's raining Chibunomu wadawa here in studio. Still morning at NTV, by the way, but again, Friday vibes, and these vibes are called red vibes this morning. I'm in red, he's in red, he's in red, he's in red. They need no introduction, but allow me to have them introduce themselves. Every single time they're being introduced by others, I would personally like to hear their own introductions of themselves as talents. And I'll start from my extreme left.
I don't want. Morning. Happy to be here. My name is Omar Daniel. I'm a comedian. I prefer to be called a humor specialist. Yeah, comedian, actor, writer, director. I do everything, and I am the perfect son-in-law. To whoever is willing to have me, I don't know.
Okay, all right. Next to him, another Mr. Red.
My name is Kenneth Mugabe. How do you say Ndimulio Wami in English?
You are eater of souls.
Hey,
Direct translation.
Mundio and Ndimulio. How do you say that?
You eat what? Like with salt?
Okay.
I'm a musician. I prefer to call myself a servant. I serve through music, basically. I give what I feel I would need to people through music.
Okay. All right. Yes, sir.
Okay. You know, they all use hard words to describe themselves.
I know. So take it out and not higher.
Andrew Kagwa. I serve the nation. You see, when it comes to art, very many people lack the ability to laugh at themselves. And that's why I come in.
Okay.
You killed the vibe.
Yes, I'm a journalist.
Oh, right. And my name is Priscilla Regina Naloga, here to deliberate on the conversation upon which it's red, raining red this morning. Now, we're talking about talent, and before us, of course, we do have talent. And we want to reflect on talent shows and their impact, having been looked at by many as a stepping stone to propelling their talents in adverse forms. Finance, it could be exposure, it could be advice, to mention but a few. But many talents have been groomed through these talent search shows, as we can call them. The most current that we have on the block is The Voice Uganda. However, many people who have emerged winners have not made it to the top. The way in Uganda, we have seen people, you know, thriving to the top in other countries and other continents. But in Uganda, we don't seem to be tracing many of those after they win, often leaving one quizzical of the relevance and the role of these shows and how best to mold them to achieve the best that there is. The one that we are having currently, The Voice, being the biggest talent show in the world, latest addition to Uganda's music shows intended to bring up talents from hidden chambers. And with this gentleman are going to help me understand why this is not really a solution for African talent, per se, Uganda. And I will start with you, Amara. You have gone through a talent show.
Yes.
Tell us what that talent show was. What was your experience? How bold were you to even get into that talent show? And how it has aided where you are today?
Okay, so I always tell people my career started with 1,500 shillings, which was a loan from my mom to board a taxi to go for the competition, right? Because my friends had hyped me up, you're funny, you're funny. So I fell for it because, you know, I needed the validation at the time. So I went for the competition and I got there. And first I thought I was the one who was running mad. I got there and everyone had painted faces, the fake bums, the whole Dikula look.
Yeah.
So for a second I thought I was crazy, but I'm like, I've watched these videos at home. Basically, I found myself in a competition that taught me a lot. I think the most important thing to take away from all these talent shows is the knowledge you gain from them. There's so much you learn because there are mentors, there's people training you in different things, like just helping you figure out your niche, and that knowledge stays with you forever. Because I think what talent shows do well is they don't just discover talent, they also help build brands. which is a very important way to mentor people. Like, grow them to not just be a good musician, but one who's good at timekeeping, you know, knows how to keep their clothes on, like the ethics of the industry. Yeah, so I think that's an important aspect I got from those talents.
Shortly after you coming through and emerging from the talent show, did your life immediately transition into superstardom, you being the comedian that you are today?
Oh no, I was known by a few people. I had a small niche audience that kept telling me, you should have won. But then I think that's what they tell everyone who went to a competition. I think, I don't know. Maybe I'm special, I want to be. But I don't know if that's how it works. But I go in and we realized from a very early point in the competition, Salvador and I, and Alex Mohanji, that we had to find a way to keep this going if we wanted to keep it. Because unlike most other fields of entertainment, we didn't have, our mentors were not in the country with us. Yes, we could learn a lot from Abi Muchivi, Patrico Mujuka, the Amarula family, and all the guys who came before us, right? Fun Factory. But at the same time, our art was ours alone. We could learn how to be better comedians, but no one could teach us stand-up. So we had to figure it out on our own, and we decided, while we were in the competition, because this was a very good place to meet other talent, you as a talent, we decided while we were in the competition to start by recruiting ourselves into a comedy group. That's how we formed Crackers, that gave us mic check and all that craziness. So that's how the journey began.
All right, Kenneth Mugabe, even with your music background, you still wanted to get into a talent search show. Why did you get into it, and what was your experience?
Oh, man. Before Rated Next, there was Tusker. I was bounced. After Rated Next, there was Tresta. You remember that? Tresta. Yeah, still I was bounced. I actually became a backup.
The reasons of being bounced was
It's okay. But
right.
But the thing is music competitions, you need, now I'm talking to people who are going to contest. They need to know what they want first, because they were here before the music competitions and they're going to be here after. They always told us when we were in Rated Next, Benon Mugumbia was one of the mentors, like, who came to talk to us, was like, you know, there's life after Rated Next. So that clicked in, and he was asking, what are you going to do? What kind of music genre do you want to do? And I was like, I want to fuse our instruments into that kind of, you know, Western more, because I liked the vibes of Lionel Richie's and those guys. So I wanted to bring that kind of art here, and I fuse it with ours, and I make it kind of, you know, export it. But that vision was, I had it. It seemed crazy at the time, and it's one of the reasons why I actually joined those competitions. It's one of the reasons why I actually went to school. So I went to school first, then the competition came. And then I'm like, you know what? Let me go to the competition, and I try to kill this kind of fear I have. Because, man, the first time I sang, I flattered the whole song. The whole song, the entire song.
Wow.
Which song was it?
He'll flat again. We can't have that.
But the thing is a competition can either make you or break you.
True.
Because certain competitions, they cut out those clips, and then they push them on and then all of a sudden, the person who had those dreams, end of the day, they're shattered, they're killed. They're like, you know what? Nah, I'm not doing this again. So they need to know. I knew what I wanted.
Yeah.
So that's why I went for it.
All right. Knowing what you wanted, Andrew, when did you know that you wanted to be a journalist, and how was that brought out for you? I know that you may not have gone through a talent search per se, but how was that sought out of you?
Just when did I know what I want? No, I always knew I wanted to be a writer, but I thought I would write novels, Mills and Boom. So I actually think I wrote a book, and it must be somewhere in an exercise book. And then after thinking about it, you're like, I do not think Ugandans read that much. So you're like, okay, what's the next big thing when it comes to writing. And that's when you discover journalism and you're like, yeah, I'll go there and we shall rock it. No, but I always knew I wanted to be a journalist. At one point, I think I thought I would be on TV. So I went for many auditions for, they're looking for a presenter. Like I went for many of those. And then you get to a point and you're like, I think writing is it. Writing is it.
Because you're being rejected.
Yeah, like you get rejected and you're like, I think writing is it. So you just stick to that.
Okay. All right. Now, I know that you're on speed with the Voice competitions right now. Submissions closed yesterday.
They extended.
They were extended. So what's the status currently?
The status currently, I think they've extended to 21st. I need to confirm, but I know they extended. Yeah. So people can still record their 1-minute video and send it.
Have you had a chance to look at one of these videos?
I've actually had the chance to see people record.
Yeah.
Of course, some people come and record and you're like, I think I can do better. Yeah, you're looking at them and I think I can do a better job. And then there are people that will come and shock you, which I think is the most interesting thing about like a competition called The Voice, because people that are going to show up and they're not looking at your star quality and everything. It's about your voice. So like I think yesterday was supposed to be the final day before they extended. Yesterday I was at Akamwesi, that's on Gaza Road, and then some lady shows up. No, it's a girl, not a lady actually. She was younger. And you're thinking, I imagine what is she going to sing? And then she starts doing Adele, and she actually does Adele well.
Adele?
Yes, and you're like, but you just do not look like
Adele.
The song, the voice.
Yeah.
So she was really good. So yeah, I think I'm impressed by some of the auditions, and then there are those that you're thinking, okay, these ones are just piling up numbers because they are not good enough, but there are those that are really good.
Okay, all right. Now, most recently, reflecting on talent shows within the country and within the region, they seemed to have sort of died a natural death. One would say because they were tagged to companies that were trying to use them as promotional weapons for their products and services. But then again, there were people that were highly dependent, knowing that on an annual basis there are these particular talent shows and people would prepare themselves for those talent shows. However, that natural death has taken away the element for people to then test and try and drive their talents. So in that reflection, what is the disadvantage, Omara, for those talent shows being non-existent today for us in Uganda?
Talent shows are a good testing platform to gauge yourself, first of all, because a lot of people think, nah, because you've made it in the industry, you're too big for a talent show. I mean, let's look at people like Pablo. It was reaffirmation that what he was doing was right, because Pablo had no idea what he was doing when he was doing stand-up. He told us this. It's like me, I would go on stage and I'd write a few things down before I get there. I get on stage and start talking, and people loved it, so they started to call it stand-up. So him joining the competition and winning was a reminder to him that, okay, you're actually doing this right. And that reminder is very useful, because sometimes as an artist, you're starting to lose your way, especially for those who have niche audiences. I'm sure, Kenneth, you suffered with this, where when the crowd was still small, and you're like, why do I even do this anymore? And then you go for this competition and realize, oh, they actually love me. This is a beautiful feeling. So the absence of these competitions is not giving a chance to talent to gauge where they actually fall. And we need that. It's like those small book platforms in comedy. We call them, what are they, open mics? Yeah, the absence of those meant comedians could no longer test their material before taking it to the bigger platforms. I think the problem is similar in a way.
And then, of course, when you look at the fact that this is a very, something people do not tell others is that the entertainment industry is a very hard industry.
Yeah.
Like you need as many chances as they come. So the thing is, not everyone gets a chance to launch like, man, launching is hard. So
Launching is difficult.
launching is difficult. So when you go through a talent search, and because at first we can say Daniel O'Mara from Stand Up Uganda, like already it even becomes easy for me as a journalist to pitch a story about Daniel O'Mara, because I'm like, did you know the guy from Stand Up Uganda? And they're like, oh, Stand Up Uganda, which was done by Mnet. Now there is like clout around you.
Yes.
Now when you just come as Daniel O'Mara, who's just starting out, and you do not have that tag along, like, the very first thing
That title, second runner up, they're like,
yes,
that's
Oh.
yeah, yes. Now you see, now, the very first thing someone will ask is, Daniel O'Mara, who is he? When you do not have anything to tag along to. So at most of the times I feel like it's that launch, they give you that little brand, like so and so of.
Okay.
this fame.
Let's do evaluation. Kenneth Mugabe, your journey has been one that has been transformational. You've moved leaps and bounds, and your music is slowly taking shape of the dream that you had initially. But I know that it does not come on a silver plate.
So
As talent, even having gone through the
The way she's
the
explaining.
show and having gotten the title of runner-ups, and getting the pop of this is Kenneth Mugabe from Rated Next, it still did not help much. You still had to do work to become the Kenneth Mugabe that we see in 2022. What have you had to put in to become that Kenneth Mugabe?
First of all, a competition lasts for like a month, a few weeks. How?
2, 3 on average.
Yeah,
Months.
3 on average.
Tops,
Yeah.
And how long does it take to build an audience? Like that can, pay.
Like, I think the difference is that for the 3 months the competition lasts, like, it's heavily marketed, so you're in people's faces all the time.
So when I was in Rated Next, every day I would appear in newspapers, on 3 different TV stations, every day.
For free.
For free.
Yeah.
For free.
Yeah.
Free.
And after, like, I was elevated, like, and after the competition, it's like I had to dig myself out of a hole. Out of a hole. So what I did was, they would call me, man, this artist was here, but then they cancelled last minute. No, that is Thursday night.
The event is
Ah,
Friday. Yeah.
Gigs are coming in last minute.
Thursday night. Could you please come in? What time? Can you be here by 7 a.m.?
Hey.
Yes, I'll be there. And I'll be there. So I started out by filling in for other people. Why? Because I needed to stay in people's faces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it when you count, they're like 10 years.
Yeah. Actually, it's almost exactly 10 years. And that's the part I don't think people talk about enough.
Yeah.
The dark side of talent search shows,
Yeah.
whereby a lot of the talent is completely forgotten
Yeah.
after being elevated. You made it to the top 3. And a lot of people get it in their heads that, I've come far. Whoa, it's just the beginning. It's literally just the start.
To add on to that, the reason why they are forgotten is because in the beginning, they were not in it. They were in it for the adrenaline,
Yeah.
known for the long term. They were not invested in it in the beginning. That's why in the beginning I was like, you need to know why you're going for those things.
Right.
If you do not have a valid reason, trust me, you're not going to last. You're not going to last. We've seen competitions here come.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, reaching top 10 of Rated Next. Damn, like even just top 30. Abana bayimba, Uganda has talent, but they do not have that consistency. They don't have that patience. Patience.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Patience, consistency, and you must have a reason as to why you're going into these competitions, because they're short-lived. Now, after realizing that they're short-lived, as an industry, how do we develop long-term roadmaps for talent development and investment for Ugandans? I'll start with you, Omar.
Well, I won't lie, tough question. But here's where I'll come from. I think, okay, I'll give an example of what we're trying to do in
For
the comedy
example,
industry.
in comedy, the long term I would picture is there's a school that professionalizes the act.
Yes.
Because we are looking into tapping into foreign markets, international markets. COVID-19 has shown us that we have so much potential market out there that we can think and fathom of. But it wants professional, and it wants consistency, and it wants good, but qualified good.
The end game is to get to levels where we have like comedy schools, right? Where they send us Americans to train. That would be awesome, by the way, because I think when it comes to humor, we work way harder to entertain our audience. To be honest, Uganda is a tough, it's a tough crowd.
Yes.
But once you can crack it, they're just soft underneath. They don't trust easily. That's what I've come to discover. So we have to build that trust over time. And what we do in comedy is we make sure the smallest platform in the industry stays alive. Because that's where things start to die. There was a time when comedy had become about...
So what's the smallest platform you're having in the industry right now?
The open mic nights. The ones where people don't even pay entrance fee to go and watch comedy.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of comedians. You could be like 20 comedians in a room just entertaining each other.
New
but
material.
You're testing your new material. You keep writing every morning. So we are trying to develop a writing and reading and research culture where jokes are not just about, oh, your tribe looks like this. You're like, no. I'm really not a fan of that kind of humor. So the plan is to train people to research, watch the news, see what's happening, you know, have an opinion about it, training them in things like critical thinking, process the information you have, find the humor in it. Don't just come on stage and talk about something that's already funny. I mean, where's the joke in that? It means you're not writing. I mean, you're not even doing comedy, you're reporting something that happened. It's like if you came and told me the story of full condition, that's not your story. You do remember the full condition story? Yeah. It's not your story. So we're trying to develop that culture, the reading, the writing. We're trying to revive it, but also keeping the practice platforms alive. First, we have 3 levels, I think. There's the open mics, where people don't even pay entrance. There's the smaller platforms, like bars, all that stuff, where people pay a certain fee, but it's really not that much. Then there's the big ones that happen like annually and weekly and monthly and all that. So you have to keep all those levels alive. So someone appreciates the journey of coming from the top, going to the bottom, then coming back up. Because if you don't go through the open mic nights, you won't have material for the big stage platforms. You can't risk taking untested material to a big audience that someone paid 150K to come and laugh.
Right.
Are you going to risk disappointing this human being? I recommend you don't.
Yeah.
because
Online in-laws and fans will not take it lightly.
you don't want to be the guy at a big show that flopped on stage.
Yeah.
So you have to keep going through that cycle. And I want artists to understand that it's not just in comedy, it's at every level.
Yeah.
So as we work our way towards something bigger, comedy schools and all that, for now we have a system that's easy to run, easy to sustain, and I think it's going to be the thing for the next couple of years as we figure out how to, first of all, put together a curriculum for something like comedy training. I've tried, but for now mentorship is free. So for something like comedy, if you're coming into the industry, all we ask is that you be serious and respectful of our time. Because we're not charging anything yet. We're not charging anything, we're just saying, come through, be serious. Don't take up 4 years of my life mentoring you and then one day you say, I'm getting married and my partner doesn't like comedy. Yet they saw you on stage, right?
Yes.
Yeah, those things. So, like Kenneth said, what is your purpose for going into an art form? It shouldn't be just fame, it should be more. First, we are in it to learn and grow an industry, to feed our families. That was motivation number 1. You get people at home have to eat, you have to pull your weight and stuff like that. So your purpose has to be greater than just I want to be famous. Because people,
All right, Andrew Kagwa, from the observatory part of this industry, you have seen these young men going through these talent searches, and you've had the privilege of seeing them outgrow them and become independent of who they desired to be. From the perspective of these things come and go, in your perspective, how can we sustain the continuous search and then development of talent?
That's a hard one. But, okay, just going back a bit, I think when they were in competition, I was in my vacation, so I got a chance to literally follow their journey. And yeah, we had DSTV. So and one of the things I remember is what they lacked and what Pablo had better than them was he had performed, and then I think when he came, he was never threatened by the judges because I think they were like colleagues. Like you would look at them and like, yeah, that's because I remember
Gango.
yeah, like Gango. But anyway, back to your question, the consistency and making sure that
you invest in development of this talent.
In the development of the talent. I liked what he said about schools, but who is going to invest in the schools? Because I like what comedians are doing. Like, comedians have this unity that you do not find in many industries. Somehow they go for each other's shows, and I know there are some people that are doing mentorships. I think every Tuesday Timothy Nyanzi is doing something like that. So comedians have something special. When it comes to music, most of the times you are at the mercy of a few people. Because I know, Ken, you worked with Susan a bit.
Mostly I worked with Kwela, Joka.
Yeah, even Kwela. Yes. So when it comes to music, most of the times these are personal initiatives that you cannot say that anyone is investing money in them, but people are doing special things to see that they develop people, they give people a platform. But these are non-official platforms. Like, if someone wakes up and probably they do not have the ability to do it, we usually find ourselves in trouble. So I think the best way to do it is if a company is sponsoring a project, they should not let it go when the last episode airs.
Yeah.
One, I think they should find a way of always working with the finalists. I like what the beverage did with Blue 3. They brought them to schools, and I think that's how we managed to stay with that group beyond. Like, they did a school tour.
Yeah. But you see, that was the initiative of the sponsor.
Yes.
Now, in many cases, it doesn't have the privilege of having that kind of extension for the talent that comes out emerging best.
I believe the sponsors should take it upon themselves, because I know even with the American Idols, they used to do tours, nationwide tours, and most of the times the tour lasts a full year. That by the time the tour is done, most people have recorded their very first single, and now they have a song to present when they go, and by the end of the tour, someone actually has a song, they're an artist, and they have something to start with. Because what they did with Blue 3, like, because I changed schools very many times, so I managed to see Blue 3 on tour, like, in 2 schools, like
academic tourists.
So, like, you see them in this school, and so when the school says, Andrew, you're too good for us, leave.
We need to read the expansion letters.
You go into another school and you see them again.
Yeah.
So they really, really did tour extensively. And I believe the audiences they saw in those schools are literally still with them to date. So I think it's very important. No one has tried to stay with their contestants after the show ends. Beyond what happened with Blue 3.
Onto the talent.
Which leaves the task onto the talent, and yet it's very hard. Like, I mean, if I've been in papers on a daily basis, if I've been on one of the biggest TVs on a daily basis because they're saying, yeah, vote for so and so, so people are very aware of you. Trust me, at the end of the competition, you're not going to go and stand on a stall and buy a Rolex. Like, you're a very, very different person. You've been elevated, and people think they should be seeing you in a different picture, and yet you're not really there. You don't have songs, you do not even have the money. So some of the sponsor needs to stay with their contestants for a little bit longer.
All right, Kenneth.
Yes.
In music, I know that there's so many elements that require a lot of professionalism. You've had the privilege of going through various stages of requiring as much professionalism to what you're doing right now, to the extent of then giving away some of your powers of control and authority and saying that this is right, this is wrong to other people so that you can become a better talent. How has that enabled your craft to be able to be the labels that it is right now?
Giving away power is good. Yes, you get to understand how other people work, and you get to learn how to relate with different people, because we all come from different backgrounds. However, giving all your power away it will shock you. It will shock you. It's all over, like worldwide. Most people, when you start with a vision that I want to do this, a lot of things are going to come. And trust me, they are lucrative, they are like juicy. But when you remain positioned, eventually you win. So I've given out my power several times. However, the people I've given my power to were not really aligned. They were going these ends, I was going these ends. I was like, you know what?
And they were using you as a tool.
No, not using me as a tool. We all wanted something out of the art, but the way we saw art was different. That's the difference.
Right.
So most people fight because they do not understand each other. It's about understanding each other. For me to give you my power, I need you to first understand me, because I'm giving out my will. You're going to decide for me. You're going out there. They'll be like, manager wa. They'll not use your name. They'll use my name. So now, those things that we have to look at long term. Otherwise, when you give out power right now, just because, let's say, out of the competition, I'm a manager, oh, that is, like we all, my dreams are going to come true. And then they all come back crumbling down. You're in lawsuits, you're tademuch, you know, and then you're like, but wait, we were supposed to go there. You are taking me these ends. I told you to get Wali, but you're taking me these ends. Then where is, we are friends. However, we need to understand where this other person is going, and we need to understand the position we're in at the moment.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Well, it's when it's all done and dusted. The beauty about it, these talent shows, that we have evidence of people that have been there before and seem successfully smiling their ways to banks, countries, and other things.
Oh, he's just sold out a show recently.
You see, that's what I'm
he decided to do a show, like, you see, we are friends with him. He decided to do a show when I was out of the country. Like, he picked the 2 weeks when I was out of the country, and he decided
you
to
will
do
not
a
write
show.
about it.
You see, the thing is, next time send me your itinerary. So that I know what time your flight is. I can organize for you a car so that you can come watch. Yeah, and after the closing punchline.
Golden ticket.
Yes, thank you. I'll call the airport and tell them to wait.
Closing on this conversation, moving forward, how do we continuously tap or advise young people to tap into these opportunities to set their futures? And I'll start with you, Andrew.
One thing I think people need to realize that, well, it's a very big industry. The entertainment industry is really big, and at times you might be funny, but you're probably not cut out to be a comedian on stage. Probably you should be a writer, probably you should be producing comedy, stage manager.
That's a good
so when you get into the competition, first and everything, it's a platform, but maybe you're not supposed to be on stage, but you're supposed to be in comedy. Like you see how he panned out, he's still doing comedy shows, but he's also an actor, he's an MC, he's on radio. So there are very many things you can do around that. I've seen people that went to singing competitions and right now they're in film and they're doing really well. So one, you should understand it's a platform you can exploit in very many ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Omar?
Advice to the youth? Well, I would say go in I don't even know how to
Advice
phrase
to
this.
someone who has talent, not to
Who
not
has
to the
talent?
youth.
Yeah. If go in ready to learn and grow. Those are the two most important things. Because a lot of people go in wanting to win, and then get very disappointed when they don't win.
Wanting to become stars.
Yes, you
they
want to
come
become
out, start
stars.
dressing like stars, but nothing about them is stardom.
Yes, and that's very valid, by the way. If your selling point is flair, then, well, at least, you know, you have something going for you. But that can't be all you're selling, because you nice gift wrapped, right? But when we unwrap the gift, it's an empty box.
So they basically came out to get the money, win the money,
Yes.
and then use it to show around, and they
And
die.
the fact that they didn't win the money is going to sink you into a lot of things, depression, an unsustainable lifestyle. There's all this craziness. But if you plan for learning and growing, like this is my objective, I'm going into this competition, whatever happens, I've learned and I've grown. And the focus should be on becoming a trustworthy brand. Because in Stand Up Uganda, they used to say, if you arrived at 10, you are late. 10 was when the classes began. So if you arrived at 10, you were late. You had to be there on average 5 minutes earlier. So they trained us in timekeeping, they trained us in delivery, physicality, you know, gauging audiences, because comedy is more psychology than actually humor. There's all these elements that I would have had to go through like 5 years of performance to learn. They gave it to me in 2 weeks. You cannot trade that knowledge for anything else. So go in ready to learn and grow, trust me. Regardless of how it ends, just focus on coming out a better and bigger person.
All right. Of course, saving the last for Mr. Raps. I know that you do have a song that is trending right now, Under Raps. But as we conclude on this conversation, what are your 2 cents?
Be ready without an opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is better to be ready without an opportunity than to have one when you're not ready. So these competitions are an opportunity. Like Kagwa said, you need to exploit them in any way you can. So be ready without an opportunity.
All right. Speaking of opportunities,
just one more thing. Like I was doing some research and then I noticed, okay, like of course I know all you guys did not win, and you see how far you've actually.
You didn't have to really put it out.
No, and then I saw I saw the audition tape. I saw the audition tape of Chike, the Nigerian, and he also actually didn't win.
No, he didn't win.
All right.
The winner's curse is real, by the way.
As we wrap up out of this conversation, we have to go under Raps, but we would like to have an a cappella first before we unleash that song here in Morning at NTV.
One pamba, meme yange yonna yajjula kwe. Enjala ne bwennuma lumonda mala ekizibi kitama mukwana. Napondoka mu nnyingo zonna ne mu ndowooza. Enkalamata baby obudde. Pereketya sika baby omuka tegujja sisitira musawalagidde singa lullaby tugamba n'omu keep it under wraps tugamba n'omu keep it under wraps tugamba n'omu keep it under wraps don't tell nobody.